Alright, so what we're going to work on today is we're going to work on factorising. Now this is just looking at the textbook on page 182. We're going to do questions 1, 2 and 3, and we're just going to work down the first column. So the first thing is when we see the word factorise, what it actually means is to put stuff in brackets. In its most simple term, that's what it means. So when you see factorise, you've got to be thinking to yourself, righto, I'm going to need to end up with some brackets. Okay, we'll start with question 1a. We have 3x plus 9. What we need to do first of all, we need to look at our two terms, 3x and 9, and we need to think, what is my highest common factor? So what is the number that goes into both 3x and 9? And well, the answer to that is 3. So what we do is we write a 3 down and then we open a set of brackets. Now we have two terms out the front here. We have 3x and 9. So what we're going to have is inside the brackets we're also going to have two terms. Alright, so what you need to be thinking in your mind is 3 times what for this first term is going to give me 3x. Well, 3 times x is going to give me 3x. Bring my plus sign across. Now 3 times what is going to give me 9. Well, 3 3s are 9, so it's 3 open brackets x plus 3 close brackets. And that's how we factorise. So looking at question D now, we do 2k minus 6. So what's our common factor of these two terms? Well, the common factor is going to be 2. So we bring out a 2, open a set of brackets. 2 times what gives me 2k? Well, 2 times k. Bring the minus sign across. 2 times what gives me negative 6? Well, 2 times negative 3 gives me 6. For question G, a common factor here is going to be x. So x is common to both of these. So we can actually bring x out the front. It doesn't necessarily have to be a number. It can be a letter as well. So x multiplied by what is going to give me 7x? Well, x minus x times 7. Bring our minus sign across. X times what is going to give me negative xy? Well, x times negative y is going to give me negative xy. Alright, now for J, we have 3 terms, 10w, 5w, and 15y. What you need to be careful of here is that your common factor needs to be common to all 3 terms. So in this instance, we look at it, we look at the letters, and we can see that all 3 terms don't contain the same letters. So we're not going to have any common letters, but we do have a common factor, which is a number. And in this instance, it's going to be 5. So 5 is common to all 3 terms. So 5 times what is going to give me 15y? Well, 5 times 3 is going to give me 15, and then we need to add a y in there as well. Okay, that deals with our first term. Now we need to look at our second term. 5 times what is going to give me 5w? Well, the answer to that is just w. And our third term, 5 times what is going to give me 10w? Well, 5 times 2w. Okay, so 5 times 3y gives me 15y. 5 times w gives me 5w, sorry. And 5 times 2w gives me 10w. Notice again how I have 1, 2, 3 terms, and over in my set of brackets here I have 1, 2, 3 terms as well. That will always be the same. Alright, next, 3ac plus 2abc. Well, our common factors are a and c. So we take out ac, we open our set of brackets, and over here we're left with 3 and 2b. So it's going to be 3 plus 2b. Next one, we have both a g and a h that's common to both of them. Now keeping in mind that this first term we only have g, and this second time, even though we've got g squared, only one g is going to be common to both of those. So our common factor here is going to be gh. When we open up our set of brackets, gh multiplied by what is going to give me 6gh squared? Well, let's put our 6 in there. and then we need to go 6 times GH, so it's going to be 6H. Now what you'll actually notice here is that I've made a mistake. So what's a common factor here in terms of numbers as well? Well, 6 and 18, the common factor there is going to be 6. So I can actually write in 6 there and get rid of my 6 here. So 6GH times H gives me 6GH squared, plus 6 times what gives me 18, well 6 times 3, and then we've got GH there, GH here, we just need one more G, so we're going to go 6GH, open brackets, H, plus 3G, close brackets. Okay, this next one's a little bit tricky because we're dealing with two minuses. So what that means is our common factor is going to be a negative number. Now we know 4 and 20, so 4 is going to be a common factor there, so we put negative 4. Now negative 4 times what gives me negative 4m? Well, negative 4 times m is going to give me negative 4m. Now negative 4 multiplied by what over here is going to give me 20. Well, negative 4 times negative 5 is going to give me 20. Alright, so there's some basic explanation on how to do some factorising. We'll now move on to question 2. Alright, 2a, common factor here. Let's go a little bit faster. The difference between this one and the previous section is that we have a common factor, but it's not specifically in either one of our terms. So our common factor here is going to be 5. So we write 5 and we open our brackets. Now 5 multiplied by what is going to give me 10x? Well, 5 times 2 gives me 10, and the x will give me 10x. Then we bring it across. 5 times what gives me 25? Well, it's 5 times 5. Okay, 12 and 18, our common factor there is going to be 6. So 6, put it out the front of our brackets. 6 multiplied by what is going to give me 12d? Well, 6 times 2 gives me 12, and we need to put a d there as well to count for that d there. We've got a minus, so we'll bring that across. 6 times what gives me negative 18? Well, 6 times 3 is going to give me negative 18. Alright, here's another one that's got 3 terms. We need to look for a common factor between all 3 terms. Now, we have 24, we have 10, and we have 7. 7's a prime number, which means we're not going to be able to have a number that's a common factor, but we do have a letter that's a common factor in each of these. And that letter is going to be B. So if we take out the B, we can put a B there, and we're left with 24AC minus 10, and we've already accounted for the B out the front, so we don't need to put that in there, plus 7BC. So it's going to be plus 7C. And again, we're just taking the B out here, and we've put it out the front, which is why we don't include it over there in our factorised form. Okay, this next one, J, x squared plus 3x. Our common factor here is going to be x. Now x multiplied by what is going to give me x squared? Well, x times x is going to give me x squared, and then x times 3 is going to give me 3x. Over here we've got m, which is our common factor, so we open our brackets and we'll do m. m times 8 is going to give me 8m, and m times what is going to give me 3m squared? Well, it's going to be negative 3m. Okay, we put the m there, so m times m is what gives me the m squared over here. Okay, last one for question 2. We have 2 parts to our common factor here. 3 goes into both 6 and 9, so we're going to put a 3 out the front, but both terms also have the letter D, so we're going to do 3D, open our brackets. 3D multiplied by what is going to give me 6D? Well, 3D times 2. 3D times what is going to give me 9D squared? Well, negative 3D. Okay, will give me 9D squared. So 3 times 3 gives me my 9. And then my D squared comes from my D and my D. And it's just a negative because we've got a negative over here. So we need to make that a negative there. Alright, question 3 is the final question that we're going to be doing today. Common factor here. Now, before I do that, what you will notice is all of these ones have negatives. So question 3 is about factoring out that negative number. Because when we're dealing with common factors, wherever possible, we don't want the negative inside the brackets. So, common factor for this first one here, negative 2m minus 12, our common factor is going to be negative 2. So negative 2 times m is going to give us negative 2m. And then negative 2 times what is going to give us 12? Negative 12. So negative 2 times positive 6. Now the reason why this is positive here, is because we have a negative out the front here. So a negative multiplied by a positive is going to give us a negative overall. So that's how we get the negative 12. Alright, for this next one, we've got x squared and x. So we've got negative x as our common factor. Now negative x times x is going to give us negative x squared. Now, this is an interesting one because we've got negative x here and I've got negative x out the front as my common factor. So, negative x times what, is going to give me negative x? Well, the answer to that is negative x times positive 1. Because think about it, negative x times 1 is just going to give me negative x, which is what we want. For the next one, we've got negative 16a plus 4, so our common factor is going to be negative 4. We open up our brackets. Negative 4 times 4 is going to give us 16, and we need an a there as well. Now, because we've got a positive here, and we've got a negative out the front of our brackets, we've got negative 4 times by negative 1 is going to give us positive 4, because the negative and the negative gives us a positive. Okay, for this next one, common factor here, 24 and 40 is going to be 6, no. So if we take out 4, if we take out 8 is what it's going to be, sorry about that. So negative 8 is our common factor. Negative 8 times 3 is going to give us negative 24, and we need the p in there as well. The negative 8 times what is going to give us positive 40. Well, negative 8 times negative 5, 8 5s are 40, 2 negatives make a positive. For this next one, negative 15x squared minus 36x, so our common factor here is going to be negative 3x. Open up our brackets. Negative 3 times 5 is going to give us negative 15, and we need that second x in here. X times x is going to give us x squared. And negatives, because we've got 2 negatives, it's going to be a positive there because we've got a negative, so the negative and a positive is going to give us a negative. So 3 times what is going to give us 36. So 3 times 12, and we've got 1x is our common factor, so we don't need to put that in at the end there. Alright, 3 terms. What's common between all of these 3 terms? Well, we've got no letters in common, but we do have a number in common, and that number is going to be negative 2. So negative 2 times 4d will give us negative 8d. Negative 2 times 2f is going to give us negative 4f. And then negative 2 times 3g will give us the negative 6g. So again, just looking at our negatives, a negative and a positive gives us a negative over here. Then we've got a negative and a positive for our second term, gives us a negative, and a negative and a positive for our third term. So that's going to be all.